All right, 6:01 and you're live.
Thank you, Carrie. Call to order the Common Council Finance and Human Resource Committee meeting for Monday, March 8th. Roll call of members: Mark Davies.
Here.
Scott Harrington.
Here.
John Rafter.
Here.
And I'd like to also acknowledge that Mayor Herzig and other city staff members are with us tonight. Committee members, is there any corrections that are needed for the minutes for the February 22nd, 2021 regular meeting?
No, from me.
Hearing none, we'll accept the minutes as provided. Our first topic tonight, our panel director, Katie, will take us through topic A. Looks like B, C, D, E, and F. Katie, whenever you're ready.
Sorry, Len. I'll try to make them all brief. The first one is just there's actually, unfortunately, several applications pending for 207A and 207C benefits. Again, those are the general municipal law enhanced workers' compensation benefits for ill or injured firefighters or police officers. C is for police, A is for fire. So we have 4 applications pending right now. I have been able to finalize 2 of them, one on the police side, one on the fire side. So both of those based on thorough legal, medical, and procedural reviews. I am going to be recommending that they be denied. Beyond that, any other questions would have to be answered in executive session because we are dealing with specific individuals' medical information. But the motions before the council would be denials for both of these.
So, Katie, I'm sorry, some of that broke up. So you're saying you have 4 applications, 2 of which at this time you've worked through, and you're going to deny them.
I would like your
and without
permission.
the personnel's name. Right. So, without getting into details, I guess I'll turn it back over to the committee members. Is there anybody, committee member, where the mayor would like to ask Katie a question, generalized, non-specific to the individual? Okay, hearing none. We'll take your recommendation as our personnel director to deny those 2 applications.
So topic B is the appointment of a heavy equipment operator. This is on our water and sewer crew. It's a full-time CSEA budgeted position to replace a vacancy of a person who had left. We have a very phenomenally well-qualified applicant that Stan Schaefer, our utility superintendent, Jeremy Wright, the water and sewer supervisor, and Greg had selected. Where we would like to withhold the name for a few more days, just pending formal notification to the employee so he can talk to his employer. But again, we do have it's a budgeted vacancy at a base salary of $34,265.
Again, I'll open it up to the committee members of the mayor. Is there any questions on this appointment? Concerns that you'd like to be addressing? Okay, you guys are a ball of fire tonight. Okay, and we'll accept your recommendation and move it to full council.
So item C, that's also me, but I will ask Chief Mancini to weigh in here. So we have typically in the past, when we've had extended medical leaves due to a permanent incumbent in the department, just because of the nature of the staffing, oftentimes we have come to you requesting that we temporarily fill an additional spot a full-time spot just to kind of help cover the hours and offset the overtime that's created by the long-term medical vacancies. Right now, we have one such situation, and I'm sorry to report that we have another. It's a firefighter who has been injured, and we are not sure when or if he will be returning. So with that, Chief Mancini, I'm sure you have better information to share than I do.
Yes, thank you all. The latest I have received, two of the individuals will not have reevaluations medically until the end of March. And from that point, it's still uncertain as to which direction they may be going, whether they'll be returning or they may be out longer, or unfortunately, hopefully not permanently. So with that on the agenda tonight, we'd like to move Jeff Mundrick from our part-time status up to a temporary full-time status, which is something that was done, I believe, with Darren Johnstone just about before I retired, or just shortly thereafter. I can't remember when it took place, but that's something we'd be looking to do with Jeff. Very similar.
And so, Chief, you have two firefighters that you're saying are going to be out until at least March, unfortunately, and we're going to be trying to backfill one of their positions with this young man, Jeff. And are there options for the other position to be filled with a temporary position or a temporary employee? Sorry.
This is our last option because Jeff is the only guy we have left. So our Darren was already moved up because of just about the time I had retired. We had two medicals. We just had a recent third who's going to be returning this week. So that takes care of that. But also keep in mind, we still have two probationary firefighters out at the academy who are just beginning their third week. So they will be at the academy through May 14th.
Okay. So obviously, Chief, this is an option for the council to accept, and it will help us save in overtime. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I'll open up the floor to any committee members or Mayor Herzig on questions or concerns. Go ahead, Mark.
So to clarify, I think I understand this correctly, but this particular fire officer would move into a full-time status until March and then move back to part-time. Is that how that would work? Or is that person then permanently full-time?
No, at this point, we're looking to just appoint him full-time temporary, which is exactly what we've done with Darren, who's another firefighter that took place earlier or near the end of 2020. So we know that two of our full-time career firefighters at this point are going to be out through March, and it may be beyond that. So this is moving him into a temporary full-time status.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, I don't know if this helps, but we word the motion to council that it authorizes the full-time appointment for the duration of the incumbent's leave. So there's a natural sunset in the motion for, that builds in for whenever the incumbent is ready to return.
And presumably if there was another situation where we had a similar situation, we could just reword that and attach it to the other person as well. If we had another leave situation, say in April. Does that make sense?
Mark, I understand what you're saying, but that's what I was just asking Chief Mancini, is that there's not actually any more personnel to bring up, to elevate into this temporary full-time position.
Okay.
I understand now. And yes, you are both correct. This is the the sum total of our part-time staff.
Good. Thank you both.
Without hearing any objection, we'll move this item up to full council.
So D is still me, as well as Acting Chief Witzenberg, who I think is somewhere on here. There he is. So, we've been talking about it for at least the last couple weeks, that we are at the point where we are ready to make recommendations to you on hiring police officers. So as you know, we have 5 vacancies in the department, and there have been 4 officers out full-time on injury time due to work-related injuries. 2 of those injury issues are resolving, but 2 of them are still not back to work at full capacity yet. So that said, after all is said and done, Acting Chief and I, along with the department, have processed all 32 candidates who were on the list. And out of those 32, we would like to recommend the hire of 7. I know that we have discussed this in the past. It is 2 more hires than we actually have vacancies for, and we are recommending 7 candidates for 3 reasons. The first being that, as I mentioned, we have five vacancies. That's a lot of vacancies plus 4 people to be out on injury time. It's been really tough on the department for the better part of the last year, operating, with that much of a deficit. Secondly, we know with certainty that 2 of our senior officers will be retiring in 2022. Because it takes a year for, all things considered, to have a police officer up, running, trained, out on the street, ready to go and actually respond to calls. We're trying to be a little bit proactive in our hiring and thinking, that we will be having those retirements at some point in 2022. Thirdly, we had a really, really excellent, phenomenal candidate pool to consider this year. And I am sorry to say that that's really not always the case. If we had to make decisions amongst these 7 and only fill 5, those would be really, really tough decisions to make. Typically, we're kind of in a situation where, after we process the backgrounds and, the rigorous background screening process, we're lucky if we can get 1 or 2 candidates that we feel really excited about. Not to say that, the caliber of our candidates isn't phenomenal, because it is, but Chris and I are both of the opinion that it's better to leave a position vacant than it is to hire the wrong person, especially in this type of public safety situation. So that said, we don't feel that way this year. There are 7 really solid, wonderful applicants who we would like for you to consider. Chief, at this point, do you have anything to add there?
I don't, although I just want to support the statement that this was kind of an anomaly this year as far as our candidate pool goes. I've been in the department for 23 years, and I don't think I've ever seen a candidate pool come through that was as broad as this one as far as eligible employees. So it's pretty significant. Again, one of the reasons why we're trying to upstaff the department now when we have the opportunity, which is really rare.
The other consideration I should mention, and granted, Chris and I always go into this with our fingers crossed and hopeful, knowing that, hopefully allowing the process to work, but we have experienced, anywhere between a 40 to 50% dropout rate in the academy. So oftentimes in the past, we've approached hiring in the police department by saying, okay, we've got 3 vacancies, we're going to hire 3, and then only 1 ends up graduating the academy, which automatically perpetuates a deficit in the department. So for those reasons, we have 7 wonderful candidates for you to consider. We have consulted with Finance Director Lee on, whether or not this would be able to fall within the budgeted amount of money for salaries and benefits for 2021. Ginny has advised us that that is the case. Correct, Ginny? Yep. So this is affordable. So with that said, I would like to just talk about the 7 candidates very briefly. The first one, his name is Michael Angelotti. He's a veteran. He was almost 10 years, I think. And Chris, please feel free to jump in or correct me on any of these. He did 10 years in the Navy as a corpsman. He completed his enlistment in 2019. He served overseas. He's a local person residing in West Oneonta. So there were a lot of really good things about Mr. Angelotti that we liked. Our second candidate, his name is Christian Cooper. He is from a little out of the area. He graduated in 2018, I believe, from SUNY Cobleskill with a bachelor's degree. And it was really neat. He reported during his interview process that he's wanted to be a police officer since he had a really good experience with a DARE officer who came to visit his school. So it's always nice to hear, people who want to get into the field because they had a good experience with law enforcement. The third candidate, his name
Katie.
is... Yep.
Katie, can I just interrupt just for a second? I just want to go to the committee members. Is there any committee member that is going to vote against moving 7 up to full council, given the fact of the reasoning based on our personnel director. Before we list these names out, I just want to make sure that we're in unison.
I think it's a good idea. We tried that when we first got into office, when then Chief Brenner brought an extra candidate in, and out of the 3 spots, we gave him 4, and out of that, only 1 made it. So I think I hope all 7 make it, but I'm willing to take the chance and send it all up to the board.
Mark
feel
and John,
similar.
you guys are,
Yeah, I feel similar if,
I apologize, Mark.
no, not a problem, Len. If all 7 were to remain in, and stick it through the academy, and Jenny has already confirmed that would not have a negative impact on our budget, I'm comfortable putting those up as well.
And John?
I never disagree with Katie.
He's a very smart man. Very smart man.
Yes, dear.
Wise advice to give any married man. All right, Kate, please move forward.
Well, I mean, I don't need to move forward if nobody really wants more information. I mean, there's no need for me to waste your time going through the list.
No, I'd like to hear the names.
Oh, okay. So we ended up with Bryce Kohout. He was a SUNY Delhi graduate. He's currently employed with Delaware County as a correction officer. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th is Michael Padula. He is also a correction officer with Delaware County. And he's got a really great background. He was previously a direct support professional with Springbrook. So we really liked, some of the things that he brought to the table. The next candidate is Carson Pochkar. He has an associate degree in criminal justice from Mohawk Valley Community College, and he's actually already completed a basic police training program. So that means that he will come to us and directly proceed to field training. Am I correct, Chief?
We have to get him through phase 2, but we have checked into what DCJS requires for us to do that, and we can do all of it in-house. So we are able to train him and get him up to speed right here at the police department, and he will be an asset to us in the dispatch area in the meantime. So he's a good grab.
It's very rare that we actually get a candidate who comes to us with any training, let alone this. And, he's a very, very, very solid young man. He currently works security at Fox Hospital, and he really has a strong focus on helping people and de-escalation and how important those things are to the process and to being a police officer. So the chief and I were very excited about his candidacy. Number 6, and I should have mentioned these are actually in alphabetical order, not in any other ranking. So just FYI. Thomas Steinberg is the next one. He's a SUNY Oneonta graduate with a degree in criminal justice. He's another correction officer. He works for Otsego County. Not just another really, really great young man. Our last candidate is Carolina Stipulkowski. She's a SUNY Oneonta graduate with a degree in criminal justice. She also has a background as a caseworker for Otsego County Social Services. She's a current civilian dispatcher for the city, and she is just a rock solid rock star. Carolina has done a great job as a civilian dispatcher. She knows the department. She's a hard worker. She's the head coach for the Oneonta women's rugby team. She is bilingual in English and Polish, which is really quite an accomplishment. She's very, very smart, and I love her story. I mean, she grew up in Brooklyn and relocated to Oneonta to go to college, and decided she loved the community so much she wanted to stick around. So that's exactly the type of story that we want to be hearing about young people coming to Oneonta. They come, they find something they like, and they stick around. Yes, Chris, you are one of those too.
A long, long, long time ago.
That concludes our 7
We're
candidates.
there.
I remember when you came, you were in OFD.
Yeah, I know. Yep. And I think you were like the senior man. on that one shift there, one crew.
So this does sound like an exciting group of candidates. It's very exciting to hear that at least one of them is going to be able to start helping the department immediately. That's great, good stuff. And hopefully there's still some other candidates left on that group of 32 that you can look at here. Good stuff.
Mark Davies had his hand up, Len. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I appreciate the fact that you have so many recent SUNY grads. I think that they will bring a lot of insight into our student population. I think that's fabulous. So well done, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add that I've taken a significant amount of heat from both corrections departments for taking some of their better corrections officers.
Well, sometimes we have to poach. For several years, others have poached from
really,
us. So
really fortunate. They've really been supportive, and they're coming from really great sheriff's departments. So we're fortunate to get them. Thank you.
Good. I think we want to talk about item E, which is the part-time uniform and boot allowance.
Sure.
Is
So
that
I can,
for OFD or open?
it's actually for DPW and various employees throughout city operations. So completely by chance, when Greg and I were having a conversation last week, as you know, we're getting part-time laborers who will be helping out in the code enforcement office, working on things like snow removal and lawn mowing and such. Greg and I came to the realization that while for full-time employees, we pay a boot allowance, we give people $175 every year towards the purchase of ANSI approved safety shoes. We make no similar accommodation for our part-time staff. Now, the safety of our part-time workers is just as important as the safety of our full-time workers. And also, we typically in the past have not provided uniforms to our part-time staff. And so that was something where Greg and Jenny and I all looked at it and we thought, well, that really doesn't make any sense. We want our staff, all of them, to be safe, and we want them to look professional. They're representing the city. So we would like to start providing uniform shirts, at least, to our part-time staff, which is not going to be any sort of, big financial impact. That will happen through the purchasing office, like it does for the full-timers. When we came to the issue of work boots, we agreed that perhaps paying a small annual, not a stipend, but just a small annual payment towards the purchase of safety shoes would be in order, as opposed to, purchasing work boots through our uniform vendor, which can be cumbersome and potentially more expensive. So that said, Greg, do you want to?
Nothing really to add, Katie. Thank you. I mean, that was a good explanation. Basically, it comes down to presenting a consistent appearance to the public and also making sure we're providing the basic safety shoes that we require our employees to wear.
So Greg, which budget line is this going to come out of? And was it covered through the 21 budget?
It was not listed as a specific budgeted item in the 2021 budget. However, we feel that we're able to cover that one way or another. We haven't identified a specific line to transfer from at this point.
Approximately how much are you intending on spending?
Katie, you thinking?
No, go ahead.
No, I just didn't hear what you were saying. It wasn't coming through. Go ahead.
Hear me now? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. We were thinking somewhere between $50 and $100 per person per year. Again, just if the person were to provide us with a receipt to prove purchase of, appropriate safe shoes, we would like to just offset that cost. I mean, steel-toed work shoes can be very expensive, especially, for part-time staff earning a part-time, minimum wage salary. And we just, it's important to us that we, like Greg said, have consistency and also keep people safe to the extent possible, especially now with our codes laborers, given that we're sending them out onto people's private property. It made it that much more important to us that we give this some consideration. And quite frankly, I should have brought it up sooner had I not been too dumb to recognize that we weren't paying this. I would have asked before.
I think it's a great message, and something that we need to do. Approximately, how much are we going to spend altogether, though? What are we looking at spending?
Can I jump in here for a sec? Len, we haven't counted and really done the math, but we did a very rough estimate the other day. Say we've got up to 10 part-timers and we're going to spend $100 per part-timer. So maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500, depending on how many people we end up providing. The uniform shirts are very inexpensive. And Katie and I were discussing how much we should actually reimburse for the shoes or the work boots. So I think it will be very minimal. If it's over $2,000, I would be very surprised.
All right, well, then why don't we keep it at $2,000 or less for this line item then, okay?
I think Jenny, maybe you can identify the budget line in the motion, but I think for the most part, because we don't have an adopted policy, we would just be looking for a motion to go to council to authorize us to pay this allowance to part-time staff members.
It would also depend on which department they're
Right.
working on or working with. If they're part-time water crew, part-time sewer crew. So we need to get some idea first, and then we'll bring the budget adjustments to you.
Right, and this is going to be an annual line item from here on out, though. We've identified a deficiency, which I think is good that that you guys identified it, but now we need to recognize it in the coming budgets. So,
Yes. Mhm.
like to see us fulfill that obligation. That's all. Okay. Opening it up to committee members or Mayor Herzig, is there anyone that wants to raise concerns or? Hearing none, we'll move that item up to full council. And I guess, Katie, you have item F. Sorry, my internet is slow. Bus
No problem.
drivers.
Sure, I can get started and then I think I'll turn it over to Dave Hoteling. So my preface to this is that we are feeling in the city of Oneonta the national bus driver shortage. Like police officers, bus driving is just a career field that we don't see a lot of people wanting to go into. Historically, the department has had a very robust part-time staff that has been able to keep people employed and also help us meet our obligations for different routes, especially with seasonal ebbs and flows due to the colleges. That said, many agencies, are feeling this pain with the bus driving shortage. And in order to keep us competitive with other agencies, we would like to request that we implement a sign-on bonus program for bus drivers, for part-time bus drivers only. A copy of the proposal was distributed with the agenda, and I'll have Dave go through it with you so you can understand specifically what we're asking for. But the premise behind this is, again, just to help us remain competitive with other agencies and to try to help us, with our recruitment difficulties, quite frankly. So that said, Dave, do you have a copy of the proposal in front of you?
Well, I did, but now all of a sudden my computer's freezing up on me. So, can you hear me? Yep. Hold on.
Dave, if you don't mind,
Go ahead.
did all the committee members, did you guys get a chance to read that? They sent to us for the sign on, John and Mark and Scott. Did you guys get to see that? You're good? Is anybody objecting to the concept, moving this forward?
No,
Hearing no objections, approximately, David, approximately how much are you estimating that you're going to spend on this line item through 21?
Well, I would like to at least get 5 more drivers. Don't you agree, Katie and Jenny? I mean,
At least.
at least 7 would be better. But
7 seems to be the magic number.
yes,
tonight.
7's the number for tonight.
7's it? Okay.
That happens to be my lucky number, so I'm good with it. Let's go with 7.
David, hearing no objections to the sign-on bonus, and it seems that all committee members have read it. We'll move this item up to full council for vote on, okay?
Thank you.
Looks like Chief Witzenberg is up for an update on the special tactical, I believe it was a tactical vehicle that we purchased last year in 2020.
I've been trying to stay away from that. That was George Hortauer who decided that it was going to be a SWAT vehicle, which it is not. It is a special services vehicle. It's to fill kind of the same niche as the old Truck One, which was originally purchased to, yes, in some ways augment the special response team, but we've used it as a lost and missing persons command post. This vehicle is unlike any other vehicle currently in the inventory. It's capable of transporting 13 plus a driver and a passenger on a jump seat. It is capable of setting up for extended operations for firefighting, for water and sewer emergencies. If it happens to be cold or hot, we can set it up with the air conditioning or the heating on. This is a vehicle that I've identified a need for whether it's police evidence collection or continuance of operations to assisting other departments within the city for their continuance of operations. The vehicle is slated for delivery the week of March 22nd. We have a home for it. Fire Chief Mancini's graciously agreed to help clean out some area of the armory garage, and we're anticipating eagerly its arrival.
Good. Any committee members have any questions or comments or concerns? Scott, you look like you want.
I look like what?
You look like you wanted to say something.
No, not at all. Sorry.
Mark or John? Thank you, Chief, for the update. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Everybody on the committee get an opportunity to read the reason why we need to have a licensing agreement with this agency for the speaker system in downtown Oneonta. Okay, I see heads are nodding. Is there anybody, is there anyone not going to say yes to this moving up to full council? Anybody that has concerns that you don't need it? Okay, I think it cost is very reasonable. I think it was less than $400 for the total cost. Okay, hearing no objection, we'll move that up to full council then. And did anybody on committee have an objection to the new structuring for the community gardening plots fee schedule? Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mark.
So I just wanted to clarify, this is for the plot, it's $25 for particular size plot and $15 for the others. Is that correct? And then it's a $50 for non-city residents?
Yes, that's correct, Mark.
Okay. In the write-up, it said, in the narrative, it said $50 for a resident plot fee. So that's why I was a little thrown off in terms of whether it was $50 for the resident plot fee or whether that was the non-resident.
In the fee schedule that was adopted, it is listed as $50 for the resident and $100 for the non-resident. And then as Carrie and I were discussing the situation, what had happened was the previous manager had reduced the fees, but it never went to council to adjust the fee schedule accordingly. So that's why I said in the narrative that adopting this new schedule will
Gotcha.
will bring it to what's in practice, and it will also coordinate and make it more streamlined for the clerk's office as far as managing the applications.
Great. Thank you very much, Jenny. I appreciate that clarification. I was
You're
a little
welcome.
confused about that. And I do agree with the fees. I think that's very appropriate for these.
Jenny, is there usually a waiting list for folks to be able to use those plots?
That's going to be a question for Carrie. Carrie, are you there?
I am. Since the recent work that had been performed grant-wise, we're running at capacity, if not probably 2 to 3 people each year on the waiting list.
That's great.
Yeah, we currently have about 29 gardeners in there right now, with only 5 to 7 slots available for when we open for new gardener applications in April. So
Do we have
Good.
room to expand it? The garden itself?
it's on city property, the Fort Wilcox Park Ground area. As far as inside of the fence, probably not with the new structure that was built, but externally, anything's possible, I suppose. Greg would probably be better to answer that as far as the layout and the spatial concerns were.
Scott, I can tell you that there are residents in the city and other areas that are very interested in having similar gardens like that in other areas of the city. So if that was something that we might want to talk to, maybe we can have that discussion at the planning committee.
I think it'd be
Planning
good.
or
Like, we can
parks.
get them a couple of spots around the city versus just one spot. But I mean, if we wanted to, I was just trying to think if we could accommodate the 3 other people that'd be on the waiting list.
There is a privately managed garden. It was built as part of a scouting project up by Fox Hospital. Honestly, I couldn't tell you right now who the contact was, but certainly if someone's interested and not able to get into the city program, we could point them in that direction.
That's good. You know what? I'll send Councilmember Lapari Shu an email asking the Parks and Rec Committee to take a look at that suggestion, Mark, okay?
That'd be great, Len. Thanks.
Okay. So just recapping, Ginny, we're going to move topic H, the licensing fee, to full council. I, the community garden plot. Is there any concern from committee members or the mayor on the budget transfers as provided by Ginny in her narrative? Okay, hearing none, we'll move the budget transfers up. Greg, did you want to talk to us about the $175,000 for the wastewater treatment plant secondary digester cleaner bid?
Yeah, this is actually a $275,000 project. It's a combined, if you look at our infrastructure master plan, there's $175,000 for digester cleaning and an additional $100,000 for some upgrades to the equipment. So this bid is for both of those projects combined. The base bid includes, as I mentioned, the cleaning of the secondary digester. There are as the name implies, there are two digesters at the wastewater plant. The primary digester is being cleaned as part of the upgrade project that's ongoing. The secondary digester needs to be cleaned at this time as well. It's typically something we do about every 5 years, but that's not something that's eligible for EFC funding. So that's why we're looking to fund it with city operational budget. And in addition, while we have the digester offline and given some deficiencies, we'd like to upgrade some of the equipment, some of the gas safety equipment, access hatches, and as well as tying that into the new SCADA system, which will be installed as part of the upgrade project. So we're looking to time this such that it can be done hopefully around the same time that the secondary digester is being done. Hopefully that'll be just a competitive bid pricing and not result in any delays. So that's why we're pushing to get this on the agenda tonight, even though we haven't opened the bids yet. The bids are expected to be open next Monday on the 15th. That's when we'll have an actual price, and assuming we can review those bids and are ready to recommend an award to the council, we would bring that to council on the 16th. So that at that time you'd have an actual number to decide upon.
Okay. You're looking to start the work in Q2 or Q3 then?
Q2.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down through my adopted budget. Right, I see it now. And there's no funding for this, Greg? There's no outside funding sources that we can get?
No, unfortunately it's not. We asked the FC, the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, who's the funding source for the major upgrade that's ongoing, if this were something that could be added as a change order, and it's just not eligible. It's a maintenance item, essentially, not a major upgrade.
Any questions or comments from committee members or Mayor Herzig? Hearing none, we'll move that up to full council. And Greg, are you just asking us to approve a specific project or the document that you sent us with regards to Oneonta Job Corps?
The documents that were sent to you are just looking for approval to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Oneonta Job Corps Academy.
Are there any committee members that have questions or concerns about the MOA that was sent to us to continue the relationship with the city of Oneonta and Oneonta Job Corps? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Greg, and just trying to read it through, I was just trying to understand historically, what's been the relationship? Just trying to understand that further, what this is.
This is DPW's relationship is with the Cement Masons group, primarily. They typically will do a sidewalk or two, a stretch of sidewalk or two for the city over the course of the summer. The city will provide all the materials. Job Corps has, the Cement Masons group has an instructor that instructs the students. The students are the ones that are getting the on-the-job training and also providing a benefit to the city residents by replacing a sidewalk. They have their own equipment and forms. Sometimes we work with them on certain tasks, but for the most part, they're a self-sufficient crew with the materials that we provide.
Great, thanks. No, I think this sounds great.
Yeah, so Mark, they've been doing this for several years, and I just can't say enough good things about Job Corps and how they take formal education and bring it out onto the street and allow the young people an opportunity to take what they learned in the classroom and apply it to the real world. So for me, I think it's outstanding to have this relationship continue with Job Corps, and Director Chris Kuhn does an outstanding job up there.
Excellent.
All right, we'll move that on up. I think, Jenny, if we go back to your narrative, we have your narrative and then a supplement.
Len, basically my first narrative, you covered all the topics. So really the only other item that I have is on the supplement. I was just highlighting or updating the council on the annual water billing that was completed over the weekend. And I was giving you some stats on the number of bills between the city and town and what proportion fell in with the first 3 steps of the grid up to the 195,000 gallons. I know it was a lot of data, a lot of numbers, but I thought it was very interesting. And so I'm not sure how much you want me to discuss in the detail, but what I'm very pleased about, even with the COVID-related effects that it had on our community, taking out the 2 accounts that I think have skewed the consumption, because it appears that these 2 accounts have massive leaks. We're only down in total on the annual billing compared to last year by a little over 2 million gallons. So based on 193 million gallons, being only lowered by about 2 million, I think is quite good. And just so you know, the annual billing for compared to 2020 versus 2021, we received about 95,000 more in water revenues, and we received almost 50,000 more in sewer revenues. Now, of course, those 2 accounts with the massive leaks, if they do get appealed and reduced, that those numbers will go down. But it just shows that the slow, steady rate increases that the council has taken the approach over the past couple of years will have a cumulative effect, even though when the usage does not go up dramatically. So I think this is a good sign that activity was still going on in the community. And of course, this is for our annual bills. You know, as our quarterlies were down because of our SUNY students and Hartwick students and things like that. But as far as the annual billing, I was very pleased to see the results. And just so you know, the bills did go in the mail today. And I also provided a letter that I sent with every billing. It updated the water customer to the different payment options, to the new billing process. Also updated them on the New York State moratorium law. So it covered a lot of material, but we tried to make it very brief and to the point. So hopefully it's an easy read for them. We also put on a message for on our bills as far as the water quality report, which is an annual obligation. We point them to the direction of the website, and once Stan gets that report finalized, that'll be on the websites for everyone's review. And do you have any questions on the information that I sent out yesterday?
Any committee members that have a question for Jenny with regards to the water billing?
As you see in
Mark,
the stat, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, thank you, Jenny. I appreciated looking at all of it and trying to digest it also. I appreciate all the time that went into that information.
Thank you. You'll see
So,
that. Go ahead.
Jenny, I actually had a couple questions. So I was wondering if you could break those numbers down just a little bit more for the committee, or send me where that information is. But I was looking at the metered sales that we adopted for the 21 budget. So that should account for 1.9 million. And the college water sales is estimated or adopted at 400,000. But when I cross-reference that over to the narrative that you gave us, or the supplement that you gave us, I think there's a section that I'm not seeing here, and that's how many users are the 0 to 37,000 gallons? Isn't that the first break off is 37,000 gallons? And then from there we move up to 75? Because I'm just looking at section or subsection B, city accounts, and it goes right to 0 to 75,000 gallons, consisting of 82.2% of the accounts.
Yeah, the 0 to 37,000, if you look at the detail that I provided with the report, Len, there were 1,403 customers at that level. And then 37 to 75,000, there was 1,139 customers at that level, just for city residents.
And where do I find that? Where's,
It's called the annual water sewer billing summary. It was the billing summary schedule.
okay. Okay.
So if you want to take a look at that and see if that answers your questions.
Okay, I will then. I'll take a look at that. So I guess my other question to you is, will our revenue, projected revenues, and I did look at the budget, so it's kind of a redundant question, but I see that our total revenue is going to be 2.643 and our total appropriations will be 2.643 also. But realistically, will we be covering all of our expenses with the projected revenues?
I haven't analyzed that yet. And also, we still have our monthly and our quarterly billings, because we also have some quarterly users that are not the college related. You know, they could be restaurants or laundromats, those type of customers. So I believe that we are going to meet the budget, but, and also looking at this annual, I think it gives me a secure feeling that activity, it was still active, and I don't want to say normal, but still solid during the COVID period. So yes, I feel confident that we will meet, but I have not done any projections. It's just a little bit too early to tell in the year to see how things are going. I have done the January and February monthly billings, and I will tell you that the activity, I always compare it to the previous year. The activity is not as high as as of 2019, but it is higher than the previous month, and it's also higher than 2020. So I do see it starting to increase.
So this is something I'd like to revisit later on in the year also, is just to completely understand where we're at, that financial picture of how we're doing with our water and sewer.
Absolutely.
Basically, it's water in, water out concept.
When I give the council their quarterly updates, I will include that.
Okay, good, good.
Also, to just let you know, we've also
Is there anything else that you wanted to?
I would also like to let everybody know that the bills are now online. If you go to the Oneonta City website and go to the finance department, there is a link there to pay your water bill online. You can either pay it by charge card, but that's a 2.65% fee, or you can pay it with e-check, and it's a $1.50 fee. We're really hoping that the homeowners will choose the online option, because a $1.50 fee to pay it online, I think, is extremely reasonable considering if they mailed it in or had to take a trip into City Hall. I think it's definitely worth the $1.50 fee. Also, that's going to allow all of those payments to be uploaded in our system, and it won't require any on-hand processing for our staff. So we're very excited that this is finally up and running.
Yeah. Hold on. Just open it up to the committee members. Does anybody have any questions, further questions or comments for Jenny? I guess while we have Greg here, the only other question I have is, when are you expecting the bids for the West Street renovations?
That hasn't gone out to bid yet. I've got a meeting this week to review the contract drawings and specifications. I'm hoping that'll be out to bid shortly this month.
Okay. But that is not something that we held up in our budget, correct? We're moving forward on that.
That's correct.
Okay. And then the culvert project. I apologize. I'm trying to think of the name of that. What?
That's all right. The Glenwood Creek.
The Glen Creek.
Yeah, that's moving forward.
Right.
It's still not going to be constructed until 2022. Right now, we're just about the end of the design phase. Hoping to get a final design document approved by New York State DOT the next month or two. And then the following phase after that is right-of-way acquisition. And I've been initiated conversations with the 4 property owners that are adjacent to the creek. And we'll be working through that with them and our consultant.
Okay. Was there any other items that committee members wanted to bring up and put on the agenda tonight? Any city staff member have additional items? Okay. Well, I guess that will conclude our meeting for tonight then. All set? Are you guys hearing me okay? Okay. All right, well then,
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.